everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. I'm just wondering what people are going to say now that Elon Musk and President Donald Trump to be very at indifferent impasse with each other when it comes to this one big beautiful bill. But there are some other things that has been leading up to Elon Musk making this very bold and public statement about the legislation that President Donald Trump is trying to pass. And we're going to cover that because I think this is very imperative that this is one of the reasons you have these two very powerful men. Think about this. You have the president, who's the most powerful man in the world. Then you have the second most powerful man in the world being the richest man in the world, both in the Oval Office together. Seemed as though they were compadres and friends. They had MAGA, conservative. They had even some liberals behind them, but some of the achievements and the things that both of these men that were basically trying to do. Now, I wonder if each of these people's camps, like the techies who really follow Elon Musk and those conservatives who was liking some of the things he was doing with Doge, are they going to continue to follow Musk and support Musk and kind of go against President Trump's one big beautiful bill? Or are they going to essentially flip ships or switch ships and then back Donald Trump, what he's trying to do? Okay, of course, the concentrated MAGA crowd, they're going to say Donald Trump. They're like, well, Elon Musk probably was never picked. Or they're going to continue to make excuses. Oh, well, you don't understand geopolitical. You don't understand how complex and dynamic. It's going to be a bunch of excuses explaining of their relationship and how things are turning out publicly, some of the decisions that President Trump has made, and the things that are not benefiting Elon Musk when it comes to Tesla and SpaceX. But we're going to get into it. We're not only going to talk about that this morning. We're also going to talk about Iran and their nuclear defiance, not accepting the United States proposal, the way they should handle, their nuclear technology, because Iran basically came out and stated they're going to still enrich uranium, which is the hallmark and baseline of creating a nuclear bomb, a nuclear arsenal. Okay? So we're going to talk about these relationships. We're going to talk about a lot of these things here this morning. I won't be here before you long, but nonetheless, these are very imperative, news to update you guys with. And of course, if you're new to Blacklogic, please hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you are notified every time I go live or release a video. Now, Elon Musk has unleashed a very scathing critique of President Donald Trump, ambitious tax and spending legislation, branding it as a disgusting abomination and a massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill. What does that mean? There's just so much fluff and bluff and hidden spending. Basically, who is getting rich behind this? That's what Elon Musk is saying. Who is getting rich behind this? Because he's basically saying, well, the way I get my billions of dollars is by federal government contracts. So it's public. Everybody can see it. Everybody can know. But there's a lot of hidden agendas, okay? There's all this pork-filled congressional spending, not just that's going to assist the economy. $2.5 trillion in spending? Now, Elon Musk warns that the bill, which narrowly passed the House, is under Senate review, and that it will plunge the U.S. into debt slavery. He should know something about slavery. He's from South Africa, the apartheid, aka just plugging that in. And that this is going to add 2.5 trillion to the national deficit, and that the bill, okay, aims to extend tax cuts across all income groups and introduce new cuts, including elimination taxes on tips, overtime pay. That's a big one. That's a big one because we know we get time and a half. Some people get double time, and that won't be taxed. And then also Social Security benefits to offset some costs. It proposes reductions in Medicaid, food assistance, and green energy tax credits. Now, I know that a lot of Medicaid recipients will not be happy with that. Now, Musk's departure from his role from Doge and his subsequent public denouncement signifies a very significant rift within the GOP. Now, this was all by design of Elon Musk stepping down 130 days. This is something that wasn't presently known to the public, but me, even myself, I just thought he just quit. Like, oh, he quit. No. under the provisions of being a special government employee that is not being paid, the term was only for 130 days. So, of course, you probably didn't hear that just yet, but I wanted to inform you guys on that information. Now, Musk's vehement opposition has intensified internal GOP tensions because, again, you have all these different factions of the GOP. You have your traditional GOP Republican conservatives, then you have your MAGA conservatives, then you have your libertarian conservatives, and then you have your staunch middle right conservatives. There's just so many factions with all these political parties, not just the conservative Republican side, they have the same in the liberal Democratic side as well. But while some Republicans, like Senate Majority Leader John Thune, remain steadfast in their support, others express concerns over the bill's fiscal implication, and Musk called to fire all politicians who betrayed the American people, underscores the very growing divide within the party. And despite Musk's criticism, the White House maintains confidence in the bill's passage. However, controversy has galvanized both conservative and liberal critics. So now we have this bipartisanship that both parties always want. Now they're getting it, but not in the same light that they wanted. Now, with figures like Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer aligning with Musk's concerns over the bill's impact on the national deficit and social programs, because now you got Chuck Schumer getting on the coattails of Elon Musk, like, yeah, I agree with Elon Musk. This is an abomination. This is a disgusting abomination. And here's the thing about this. Let me show you guys Elon Musk's Twitter. This is the Twitter, and let me just blow this up for you guys. This is what Elon Musk said on Twitter, 95 million views. I am sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. What does he mean? This is historic. This is just not about the one big beautiful bill. And I know this is conjecture, this is rhetoric, this is me alluding, okay? But this is my opinion, and I'm trying to interpret it from my purview of what Elon Musk is saying. I think he's stating more than what he's saying. And I know you're putting words in his mouth. I got it. Say whatever you're going to say. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. Meaning that this is not the first, the second, the third. Something has been going on behind closed doors where Elon Musk can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Now, this may have been Elon Musk totally against the one big beautiful bill before it came public. While lawmakers were trying to put this bill together, he probably got some glimpses and some glances of it, and he like, this is not going to be good at all. But it continued to build it. It continued to make it for the president. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. He said, you know you did wrong. You know it. So what is that saying about President Trump? What is that saying about the relationship between Elon Musk and President Trump? Because I know a lot of people are going to make excuses for the president. Well, the president can't possibly read this entire bill. He has the most powerful country in the world to govern. He has the most powerful country in the world to run. So he got lawmakers together and he told them the things that he wanted in the bill. And other lawmakers, while the bill was being built, put their own special interest programs and funds and legislative jargon and filibusters and pork field legislation inside this bill, so everybody in their pockets can get paid, and none of the constituents that voted him into office voted for this. So it's going to be so many darn excuses that people are going to make for President Trump. You are the president of the United States of America, and stated that the one big beautiful bill is the biggest legislation since, I don't know, in the last 50 years or so. The biggest legislation in the last 50 years or so. And as the leader of the free world, you must read the entire bill. You must go through there like an English teacher, like, nope, that's wrong. Improper sentence structure, improper, exclamation point, whatever it may be. You need to go through there with a fine-tooth comb. You and your advisors go through it line by line. Well, he doesn't have time for all of that. You have to. If this is the biggest legislation, the most important legislation in the last 50 years, then you must. Because somehow I think, and I'm gonna tell you something. I think Elon Musk just copied and pasted the one big beautiful bill into Gronk and told him, hey, tell me how this doesn't benefit Tesla, SpaceX. No, he probably didn't do that. Or maybe he did. But I wonder if he just kind of used his AI technology to say, how does this benefit America? How does this benefit my companies? And whatever it spit out, it basically said it doesn't benefit anyone except those politicians who are closely involved in this. Again, this is my conjecture. I know a lot of people are not going to agree with it, and that's fine. But here's some things that I want you guys to really take away here. Here's some things that I want you guys to take away with, because it states here the big picture. Musk and Trump remain friends and allies, the two people in frequent communication with both. They said that Trump was somewhat irked, that means agitated and irritated, by Musk's social media sabotage. And they say that Elon Musk was butthurt. Somebody black wrote this. I never heard any white person or Asian person or Hispanic person say butthurt. That's definitely a black term. Who wrote this? I need to look up this author right quick. Who wrote this? Okay, Mark. Okay, that sounds like a Hispanic name. Maybe been around a couple of black people. Black people like, oh man, you just butthurt. But nonetheless, it states that the legislation cuts the electric vehicle tax. And it's a disgusting abomination that will hurt Tesla. I think he forgot to put those words on there. But it states that the legislation cuts the electric vehicle tax credit that helps car makers like Musk Tesla. As of late April, his company has spent almost $250,000, $240,000 to be exact, lobbying on behalf of the credit and other company matters. So again, he has a special interest in this one big beautiful bill being amended so we can allow a larger and increase the electric car vehicle tax, okay? And it states here, and this is what I was referring to you guys, that because of his role, he couldn't be at Doge in that position no more than 130 days. It says that Musk was working at the White House as what's called a special government employee, and he had discussed trying to stay in that role beyond the 130-day time limit set by statute for the unpaid advisory position. But ultimately, the White House official stated that he couldn't keep serving in that capacity. Well, that's easy. They're just making him a government employee and start paying him. I think there's some other things that is not being revealed as of yet. Musk also wanted the Federal Aviation Administration to use his Starlink satellite system. Wait a minute. So first, the one big beautiful bill is going to hurt Tesla car sales because consumers are not going to get their tax credit. Secondly, you didn't get your way when you wanted the Federal Aviation Administration to use your satellite system for national air traffic control. It stated that the administration balked at it because of the appearance of a conflict of interest and for technological reasons. Of course, it's a conflict of interest. Even if it's not a conflict of interest, it's a conflict of interest. You are buddies. You are friends with the President of the United States, who is the commander in chief of the federal state of America. And the FFA is a federal entity, is a federal organization. And you were head of the Department of Doge, a federal organization to thwart out fraud, waste, and abuse. Of course. And you have billions of dollars in government contracts. And you just stepped down from that position. Of course, it's a conflict of interest. And I get it. Some people will say, well, if that is the best technology for air traffic control to have to prevent mid-air collisions with other aircrafts taking off before they should or landing before they should, to decrease the amount of accidents we've had this year thus far, then that technology should be used. And I will get it. I totally understand it. Okay? I'm not a Neanderthal. I get it. But just the appearance of it is a conflict of interest, and we shouldn't have that. Maybe we should employ and encourage and fund other organizations that are in the same space as Elon Musk that don't have a special interest and afford them the government contracts. I'm just saying. It goes on to state that Musk appeared to come Saturday night when Trump abruptly announced he was withdrawing the nomination of Jared Isaacman, a Musk ally. So this is a friend of Elon Musk, to be the NASA administrator. It says after Isaacman's nomination was dropped, word quickly spread in the White House that Sergio Gore, the director of the Office of Presidential Personnel, who had clashed with Musk, was behind the decision. So they're just fighting each other, and they're hurting people in the wake of their political battles. So Elon Musk and this Sergio Gore guy had, some words, some choice words with one another. They're indifferent with each other. They don't agree on anything with, Elon Musk, what Doge was doing. He don't agree with the presidential personnel in this position. I mean, again, they're just infighting. There's a lot of infighting. And it goes on to state that this was Sergio's out of the door FU to Musk. That's what one of the White House officials stated. But two administration's insiders said that the case wasn't clear, and senators had complained about Isaacman for being a Democratic donor. The insiders also stated that the White House wanted a Republican loyalist, somebody who's going to fall in line and vote down ballot so this can pass through the Senate, the one big beautiful bill. We don't need anyone opposing us. We don't need anyone who's independent in a very critical role that can change the hands of time when it comes to the one big beautiful bill or any future legislation. We need a Republican loyalist. We need a MAGA concentrated loyalist, okay? That is what I'm getting from this. And it states that perception is reality, though, and I'm pretty sure Elon thought that NASA's situation was a last insult. And of course, another White House official said that as well. And so, so Musk is definitely blasting the one big beautiful bill. This is crazy. And I think it's only right that we really break down, what's in this one big beautiful bill that Elon Musk is so against. Why Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader for the Democrats, they're totally against this one big beautiful bill. What's in this one big beautiful bill that's going to hurt America? Was going to put America 2.5 trillion deeper into a deficit. What's in this bill? Well, I'm going to give you guys a very comprehensive breakdown of this bill. This bill is actually H.R. 1. The name, the one big beautiful bill. And where people are not understanding that this is a reconciliation bill, which means it only needs a simple majority in the Senate, no filibuster. It pulls in legislation from 11 House committees to change taxes, increase military and energy spending, cut environmental and social safety net programs, and slap hard limits on government regulation, all the while increasing the debt ceiling. Now, what this bill might do to America for better or worse. Here's some potential upsides. Tax relief for working and middle-class families. Permanently lowers income tax rates, especially for middle-income people who are in that bracket. Boosts child tax credits and deductions for things like tips, overtime, vehicle loans, and student expenses. Encourages home ownership and small business investment through MAGA savings accounts and expanded 529 plan flexibility. Create choice accounts for individual health insurance that could decentralize employer coverage dependencies. When we talk about economic growth via deregulation and business incentives, you have slashes. It slashes energy regulations to promote oil, gas, and mining. It extends Trump era tax cuts for businesses and provides additional deductions for equipment, property, and research. It also increases spectrum access and modernizes AI data systems and federal agencies. Now, when we refer to the national security and military modernization, you have massive funding for missile defense, hypersonics, AI military integration. Remember, we talked about Andril, that autonomous defense. We're gonna bring that up too. Andril, the autonomous. They're making an autonomous fighter jet. They already made autonomous drones for the U.S. government, and also shipbuilding. This also doubles down on the Indo-Pacific infrastructure to counter China and support for border security and military housing improvements. Okay, so our military personnel can have better housing on base. Now, you also have some administrative efficiency. Audits Medicaid and SNAP for fraud. Okay, so that's one of the hallmarks of DOGE, what they were trying to do. It also limits state level overreach and AI tech regulators and regulations. It reduces agency discretion in writing costly regulation. So Congress must now approve certain rules. So those are the potential upsides. I've read the entire bill. One of my subscribers said, "Hey, do you know what's in that one big beautiful bill? Did you read the one big beautiful bill?" I said, "I'm still reading it because it was so long. It was worse than reading the most boringest novel that was 500 pages." But I digress. I did it for you and I did it for me. Now, here are some of the potential downsides. Crushing cuts to the social safety net, because you have SNAP work requirements are expanded, harder for poor adults to qualify for SNAP. You have internet and utility subsidies are removed from benefit calculations. Many immigrants, even legal ones, are vulnerable groups are locked out of aid. Now, the legal ones, that could put a damper on our economy, but the illegal ones need to be deported. It ends subsidized student loans, compressed deferments, it caps Pell Grants, and guts federal student repayment options. Medicaid expansion gets new cost sharing and work requirements and less coverage and more bureaucracy. Then you totally have the death of the climate policy. Nearly all environmental programs from the Inflation Reduction Act are repealed. Funding for zero emission school buses, air quality at schools, carbon monitoring, methane reductions, and community resiliency, gone. All of that is gone. Tax credits for EVs, solar energy, and hydrogen. And don't forget Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla. And Tesla not only make EVs, Tesla also makes solar panels or solar roof panels. So that's your EVs and your solar energy. Also hydrogen, wind, nuclear, and clean fuels, slash, or simply just phased out when it comes to this one big beautiful bill. Expedited permitting with fast track oil, gas, and mining at the expense of environmental reviews and tribal consultations. Backdoor culture war provisions. Now, this bans Medicaid payments for gender affirming care for minors, which is a great thing. Defunds essential community providers like Planned Parenthood. Cuts off tax credits for immigrants with pending asylum, TPS, that's your temporary protective status, or DACA-like statuses. Okay, I'm indifferent about that. For the first part of it, it definitely should cut those tax credits for people who are pending asylum because they're in the country illegally. It also adds a remittance tax of 5% to money sent abroad, which disproportionately affects immigrant communities. Yeah, if you want to work in America and you're going to send money back to your home country, which again stabilizes and increases your home country and in some way destabilize the American infrastructure and our financial systems, then there should be a tax on that. But then some people say, well, aren't their paychecks getting taxed? Isn't that a double tax? Again, that could be very argumentative when we're talking about how other people are coming to America sending dollars back to their country, and the dollar is worth more when you convert it into their currency, meaning that you're going to essentially raise their GDPs and decrease the American GDP because you're not cycling those dollars that you made in America back in America. So I get it. You also have federal workers and retirement benefits that are hit hard. That increases the first contributions massively. It strips early retirees of their annuity supplement, and it forces new employees to choose between at-will employment or a huge retirement contribution increase. It also adds a $350 fee to file grievances with the Merit System Protection Board unless you're a whistleblower. Now, here's the big ideological shift. This isn't a budget bill. It's a blueprint for a new federal government philosophy. And I get it. Conservatives would argue this reins in federal overreach. It fights inflation by slashing spending. It gets able-bodied Americans off of welfare. It restores energy independence, and it boosts national security. But I promise you that the progressive would argue that this decimates poor and working class support system, and that it sacrifices the planet's future to oil barons, and that it punishes immigrants and marginalized groups. And lastly, it centralizes power into corporation and strips federal agencies of enforcement muscles. The question is, can it do both? Well, here's my take. What HR 1 might actually do. And I'm going to keep it real because this is a very big, bold, brutal shift in how America operates. What it pertains to economically, it's a steroid shot for GDP in the short term. Because you have tax cuts plus deregulation plus military contracts, which equals jobs and growth. But it risks ballooning the deficit with permanent tax cuts and big military spending hikes. Now, socially, it's punitive because if you're poor, sick, a student, an immigrant, or rely on government support, you're going to feel this hard. This bill leans heavy on pull yourself up ideologically and doesn't leave much safety net if you fall. When it pertains to the environment, it's a red line reversal. Decarbonization takes a backseat to fossil fuel dominance, not just neutrality, but outright hostility towards clean energy investment. And politically, this is an attempt to solidify Trump-era policies into law before Democrats have a chance to reverse them. By making tax cuts permanent, deregulating executive power, and gutting agency autonomy, the GOP will kneecap future progressive agendas. That is what this bill seems to be, in my opinion. And the bottom line here, this isn't a bill. This isn't a bill. It's a declaration. The one big beautiful bill is a declaration of ideological war on the administrative state, on climate policy, on progressive taxation, on social programs for non-working or marginalized Americans. If passed, the bill could lock in Trump-style governance for a generation, even if Democrats win future elections, because the funding, the rules, and the agencies will already be written. So if you're a libertarian, nationalist, or fossil fuel hawk, you'll love this. You'll love it. If you care about the climate, public education, reproductive freedom, or immigrant rights, this is DEFCON 1. This is DEFCON 1, ladies and gentlemen. And see, this is what I was referring to. Like, if you on one side of the aisle, you're loving the bill. If you're on the other side of the aisle, you're hating the bill because it go against the very liberal things that you're trying to have the government to pass. And that's why I'm not right, center, or left. You just have to be an American, like some of this is good, some of this is bad. That is a way that I definitely look at this. Because let's look at this next story here. When it comes to President Trump steel deal and raising tariffs to 50%. Because this morning, President Trump implemented a very significant escalation in trade tariffs, doubling existing duties on most imported steel and aluminum from 25% to 50%. And this move aims to protect domestic industries, but has drawn criticism from key trading partners, including Canada and Mexico, who argue that the tariffs are unfair and could lead to increased consumer pricing. Now, the tariffs can coincide with a deadly tax hike when it comes to 50%, and also with a deadline for U.S. trading partners to submit their best offers to avoid broader tariffs on their goods that is set to begin next month. He said, give me your best offer then. So this entire time that President Trump has been in office, he's been negotiating. He's been playing with these tariffs. You know how he deals with these things. He's been playing with these tariffs for a very long time. And he's been using it as a negotiation tactic to get what he wants. The Trump administration seeks to finalize more trade agreements before the next round of tariff takes effect in the next 5 weeks. So again, I will keep you guys abreast of this. And Iran's supreme leader has firmly rejected a new U.S. nuclear proposal, emphasizing that halting uranium enrichment goes entirely against Iran's national interests. The U.S. proposal, mediated by Oman, suggested limits on Iran's uranium enrichment and the surrender of its enrichment uranium stockpile, which Iran views as a very critical for its civil nuclear program. Now, civil means that they're going to use the enrichment program of uranium for energy for their country. Now, the supreme leaders criticized the proposal as undermining Iranian sovereignty and self-reliance, stressing that the uranium enrichment is central to the country's nuclear agenda, despite 5 rounds of negotiations involving Iranian foreign minister and the President Trump's envoy. Significant disparities remain unresolved. Now, Iran has consistently maintained that its nuclear ambitions are peaceful and denies intentions to develop nuclear weapons. Now, by doing so, the president of Iran, he understands by keeping this enrichment program, they can easily utilize the enrichment uranium for a very cheap energy source for their country, which is a great thing. But what the world knows, because of the history of Iran and their past with enriching uranium, not only is it possible that they have nuclear bombs already, and it's possible that they're still creating nuclear bombs. And because the world looks at Iran as a terroristic country, not stating that every person from Iran, an Iranian person, is a terrorist, but they're stating that they probably have more homegrown terrorists that are anti-West, that are anti-American than some other Middle Eastern country, because we're allies with Jordan, which is a Middle Eastern country. We're allies with Kuwait. We're allies with Oman. We're allies with Saudi Arabia. But when it comes to certain countries like Iraq or Iraq and Iran, in Yemen, we look at these countries as very terroristic, meaning you have a lot of terrorists that come to America and to the Western countries and blow up stuff. So for you guys to have a nuclear arsenal, it's a threat to world peace. That is what they're getting at. And Iran's like, well, we're going to keep enriching uranium because this is for civil use. And the world is like, well, your history states otherwise. And Iran is like, so we're still going to do it. That's basically what I got, guys. Now, we kind of already went over this. I gave you guys a very comprehensive breakdown of the One Big Beautiful Bill. But as for reference of where I got my information, congress.gov, where it's actually listed, Okay, HR 1, the one big beautiful bill. As you see the status here, the tracker, it's already passed the House, is up for about to get the vote so it can pass the Senate. And once it passes the Senate, I'm going to already tell you, President Trump is going to sign it, and then it's going to become law. Now, there's two versions of this that you guys can look at in case you want to read this for yourself, so you can kind of understand my takeaways of how I broke this down very comprehensively for you guys, but you can read it for yourself. Again, it's very, very lengthy, but let me show you. There's two ways you can read this. Now, I read some of the summary, but then I read the actual bill. So here's the summary. Okay, I'm just going to scan through the summary. Okay, that would definitely take you less than an hour. Okay, if you're just reading, that's going to take you less than an hour. But I didn't read that version. Let me tell you the version I read. And that's just a summary. Now, if you come over to the text part of this, you hit text. Now you're going to be looking at the entire bill. Now, let me just run through this very quickly. Look how long this bill is, guys. I'm going to scroll through so you can kind of just see how much is in this bill. This is how long, even if you widen your screen here so you can get more on the screen, look how big this bill is. Do you guys see over here to the right how big my, look how big this is. And I'm just scrolling through here very quickly, guys. I'm not even halfway through, and I've been scrolling for a very long time. So again, there's a lot in this bill. That's what I really wanted to show you guys. There's just a lot in this bill. Nevertheless, I thank you for joining me here this morning. You guys have a great and wonderful day. And I'll see you on the next one. This is Blacklogic.